بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So this is the first session on the history of Islamic legislation, تاريخ التشريع الإسلامي. تاريخ التشريع legislation. This is a very interesting subject, and it's very extensive too, very wide, very extensive, very deep. It has a lot of information, but also it's very exciting because we study numerous things. This subject, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, this subject involves studying tafsir, ilm al-hadith, part of it ilm al-rijal, the transmitters of hadith, part of it Islamic history, part of it fiqh itself. So it is about the history of fiqh, but also we study some fiqhi theories. And also, we're going to go through the evolution of legislation. We begin by the time of the Prophet was very simple. There is a man called the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the source of knowledge. He gets his knowledge from God. People come to him, ask him, and he provides an answer. People who are sitting there, they would listen to him, okay? And sometimes they say, the companions say, we were too embarrassed to ask the Prophet. They were too embarrassed. You know why they were too embarrassed to ask? Because they did not want to show how low and shallow was their, level of understanding or knowledge. So they were embarrassed to ask simple questions. They don't know the answer, but they don't dare to ask. So they would wish and they would wait for an Arabi. Arabi in the Islamic literature means what? Arabi. Uneducated man who comes from the desert. Arabi is the term for someone who's uneducated. They would wish and wait to see if someone comes, an outsider, and ask the Prophet, so they would listen, they would learn. So at the time of the Prophet, it was very simple. He's there, God reveals the book for him, and he passes this knowledge. And then he tells people what is good, what is bad, what is lawful, what is unlawful, what is forbidden, what is mandatory. But then after that, life was moving forward. People encountered in the beginning, the time of the Prophet, society was very simple, very primitive society. Now they started traveling, going elsewhere. They used to work in trade, only trade, limited trade. Now they have other economic opportunities which required new legislation. So we're going to go through how this legislation started to evolve step by step, slowly, after the time of the Prophet, the time of the Imams, and then after the Imams. So the time of the Prophet was from Mecca until his departure, year 11th, and then from year 11 until 260. First, from the time of the beginning of Islam until the death of the Prophet. So that's the Prophet's era. And then we come from year 11H until 260H. What happened in 260? Why 260? The beginning of the occultation, the beginning of the ghaibah, al-ghaibah, No, no, no. The beginning of the, yeah, yeah. So, however, the Imam had ambassadors, representatives, but people had no direct access to him at this time. At this year, they had no direct access. He had a representative. So this is the second, and then we're going to go through the other periods. And then we will see the obstacles that hindered the process of legislation, the process of ijtihad. One of these obstacles in the Sunni tradition, the main obstacle was what? That crippled ijtihad. What they call it? It has a term. Insidad or ighlaq, the closure of ijtihad. They say, one, the caliphs died, the fourth caliph, then no more ijtihad. We don't have ijtihad. Others, they say no, it happened after the death of the four leaders of the four madhabs. Imam Abu Hanifa, Nu'man ibn Thabit, Imam Malik ibn Anas, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. When they died, no more ijtihad. This gate, Babul ijtihad, the gate to ijtihad, to intelligent reasoning, was shut. So this is a hindrance. And therefore, they came across areas they don't know the answer. They tell you we have to look at similar incidents that happened 500 years ago to get an answer. Now, if there is no similar incident, this is something new, then they had a big dilemma. And therefore, ijtihad did not evolve. It was evolving much faster and better in the Shia tradition than the Sunni tradition. Because in the Sunni tradition, they put a cap on it. They shut the gate. While in the Shia tradition, they said, we need answers. As long as God has given you intelligence and a brain, you cannot shut the door. God says, use your brain. Since you have the main what? Main sources. What are the main sources? We're going to come across them. What are the main sources in the Imami tradition? Quran, Hadith, Aql. Aql is to use your ijtihad. Use your ijtihad. But of course, Aql not against the first two, with the first two. And then the fourth one, these are the popular opinion. Exactly, ijma', consensus, the consensus of the scholars. Okay? So we're going to go through this. This is a very, and then, so the Sunnis, they had this challenge. What did the Shia have? What was their main obstacle that hindered for some time, for 2 centuries, hindered the process of ijtihad? Huh? No. I'm speaking after the time of the Imam. Huh?
The wording of ijtihad.
No. No. Has nothing to do with politics. Has nothing to do with the governments. In the 11th and the 12th century, which is not too far, now we are in the 15th century. So this is 11th and the 12th Hijri century. 11th and 12th Hijri centuries. Okay? We witness the emergence of a new school. That new school is named Al-Akhbariyun. Al-Akhbariyun versus what? Akhbariyun versus what? Akhbari. Exactly. Versus أخباري versus أصولي. What do we mean by أخباري? This is a movement that emerged 300 years ago, 400 years ago, and lasted for 2 centuries, which threatened the process of ijtihad. But yet the ijtihad was affected, but it did not stop. It did not come to closure, to conclusion. This movement argued that our understanding of Sharia, the entire Sharia, entire Islam, is based only on the hadith of our Imams. So in any situation we go and look for the hadith, look for what our Imam said, and we consider that. We don't have the right to bring up our own, to come up with our own ideas. We don't have right. And we mentioned the very first year we had this seminary, in the first year, 4 years ago, we were speaking about when we studied usul al-fiqh, the principle of jurisprudence. We discussed in the beginning the dangers of ijtihad and why some riwayat, some traditions threaten those who dare to bring their own opinion. And we said this is when they bring their own opinion without what? Without dalil. Without dalil. They say this is my ijtihad, my personal opinion. Has nothing, it has no roots. It is baseless. Of course, that one is threatened. فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ, the hadith of the Prophet says, and the Imams, let him book, let him reserve his seat. فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. A person who brings up an idea, a person who says this is halal because I like it, I think it makes sense, so let's make it halal. This is haram because I say so. I say so. This is my opinion. Doesn't have dalil, evidence from the kitab, which is the Quran or the Sunnah, then has to book his seat in Jahannam. But if someone is working using the kitab and the Sunnah to extract the legislation, the fatwa, then he's playing by the game. He's not doing something illegal. Maybe he would not give you the right answer, but still, if he's working from the kitab and the Sunnah, not his own desire, not his own opinion, and he makes a mistake, he's forgiven. Because he was doing his best. He was doing his best through the legal ways, not the illegal ways. And therefore the hadith says even the one who gives you the right answer, but through the illegal ways, he's still condemned. Though he's giving you the right answer, but his method was wrong. His method was illegal. Even if he comes up with the right answer. And the one who uses the right methods, even if he makes a mistake, he's rewarded. Because he didn't do something illegal. He didn't do something illegal. He was working within the same tools that are available for him. So, let's go now and begin by simple things, this class. What does tashri' mean, my friends? Tashri', legislation. What does tashri' mean? Tashri'. Tashri', okay, make it.
Legislation?
Huh?
Legislation?
Yeah, tashri' is to make a law, is to legislate, is to the act of making the law or enacting laws. This is tashri'. Who is the fa'il? Who is the one who does that? What do we call him? Shari'. Ahsant. Shari'. Shari' is the legislator. Okay? Shari'. Shara. Is this how we write it? I don't know. Shara'. Shari'. Okay? Okay, what is the root of it? What is the root of tashri' and shara'? What is the root? Uh-huh. Shar'. This is sukoon. Shar'. Shar'. The root is shar'. Okay? And then of course, shar'. But if you put fatha here, see? Shara'a. Shara'a. 3 fathas, not sukoon. What? See, the same writing, huh? The same. But here you have this, okay? You have this one. Here you have shara'a. Shara'a.
Becomes past tense of third person doing it. Like
Exactly.
he did it.
Legislating or legislated for you. Legislated for you. He made a law. And it is mentioned in the Quran. شرع لكم من الدين ما وصى به إبراهيم ما وصى به نوحا وإبراهيم وما وصينا به إبراهيم موسى وعيسى أن أقيموا شرع لكم God شرع God made legislation for you. Okay? And then God says to the Prophet لكل جعلنا منكم شرعة. شرعة also is legislation. شرعة. So it's not just tashri', it is shir'ah. Shir'ah. Shir'ah means what? Law. لكل جعلنا. For each one of you, Jews, Christians, Muslims, جعلنا لكم شرعة, a law, ومنهاجا, a path. For each one of you, we gave a law that is compatible with their era, with their time, with their situation. شرعة ومنهاجا. Okay? Also, Sharia comes in the Quran. ثم جعلناك على شريعة من الأمر. Surah Al-Jathiyah. Then, thereof, we put you on شريعة من الأمر. Sharia here, what does it mean in this context? Religion. In general, it means religion. But in this context in the Quran, ثم, after that, جعلناك, we ordained you, we put you على شريعة من الأمر.
A specific sort of.
On a path. On a path, a clear path. شريعة من الأمر. Okay? Now, in the old days, when people said Sharia, when Sharia was mentioned, what did it mean in the old days, Sharia? In the old days, what did it mean? It very the time of our imams, when they used to say Sharia.
Isn't it the canon?
No. I'm not speaking about the Islamic meaning of it, religious meaning. It meant every Islamic knowledge. It meant the entire religion. Everything related to religion was used to be called Sharia. And at that time, they divided Sharia into 2 parts. One part, they would call it أحكام العقيدة. العقيدة. The second, they call it النظام. النظام is organization. عقيدة is ideology. So that was the Sharia. So what did they mean by عقيدة? أحكام العقيدة. When they said أحكام العقيدة, what did they mean by it?
The beliefs.
Exactly. Such as what? Give me an example.
Like
One God.
one God.
Exactly. Monotheism. The Prophet. Okay? Philosophy, theology today. Philosophical, theological concepts. Okay? How do you prove the existence of God? It's about Tawheed. How do you prove that God sent messengers? How do you prove that there is a day of judgment? These are aqidah, ideology. Whereas nizam referred to what? Ahkamun nizam.
Do's and don'ts.
Huh? Exactly. Daily affairs. Daily affairs. The organization of your life. Okay? And then they used to call aqidah al-fiqh al-akbar, the greatest fiqh. Okay? And nizam, they call it al-fiqh al-asghar, the smaller fiqh. Because they said this is the asl, those are usul, those are furu'. This is asl, the main source. These are roots. The asl is aqidah. But these are secondary. These are primary. Fiqh al-akbar, because aqidah is the primary. Aqidah makes you Muslim or non-Muslim. But furu', yes, you must learn them. But even if you fail in them, if you not learn them, they cannot say you are not a Muslim. You are not a perfect Muslim. But you still are Muslim if you don't know them. But this one, if you don't know, then then you don't know your religion. You don't know your God. So these are the primary and these are the secondary. Aqidah was al-fiqh al-akbar. The fiqh, the daily affairs, was al-fiqh al-asghar, the smaller one. And then after that, they distinguished between sharia and fiqh. Otherwise, sharia and fiqh were synonymous. When they said sharia and fiqh, it was synonymous. Then in the 3rd century, my friends, in the third century, they distinguished between sharia and fiqh. In the 3rd century, the distinction came. And they said something very important. We have to pay attention to it. They said, Sharia is not fiqh. Not exactly fiqh. You have to distinguish between them. Yes, there we were easygoing. We said Sharia and fiqh. But now, when you analyze them, no, it's not the same. It's a reference to not one thing, to two things. This is a reference to two things.
Who is making these claims?
Scholars. This is the evolution. This is the evolution. After many centuries, scholars, they come. Life is expanding. The demand for legislation is growing. And therefore, legislation is not small anymore. It's not someone sitting like the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he says, don't do this, do this. Now, Muslims are growing. Muslims, they have reached Europe, China. They need more legislation, more laws, okay? They are coming up with situations that did not exist during the time of the Prophet. Didn't exist. So now there is more demand for legislation. So they started making distinction. It's like you're a profession. An eye doctor. They used to call him eye doctor 200 years ago. You go to one person, he's an eye doctor. No, maybe he's a general doctor. He can treat your eyes, he can treat your stomach, he can treat your wife if she's not getting pregnant. He can do it. Nowadays, even the eye doctor are specialities, different specialities. Which eye? When you say eye doctor, I have a problem, they tell you which sort of problem. We have to send you to someone specific. Same thing with fiqh, okay? They came and they said, Sharia, we apply the term Sharia only to the ahkam that we know absolutely absolutely قطعيا they are from God. Absolutely from God. أحكام القطعية. So Sharia applies to the rulings that are absolute. We know absolutely they come from God. And not only they say قطعية means that we are certain. قطعية, we are certain they are from God. And also another term, واقعية. قطعية and واقعية. So قطعية means we are certain they are from God, no doubt about them. واقعية means what? They are real. We know. Such as what? Give me an example of something that you can say, I'm sure 100% this is what God says. Prayer, salat. Why? Because it's in the Quran. أقيموا الصلاة آتوا الزكاة. Salat, zakat, hajj, no one can deny. Why? Because there is a clear reference. Hajj, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ. من استطاع, if you can afford financially, physically. من استطاع عليه سبيلا. But it's mentioned in the Quran. It's not a legislation that the Prophet brought from himself. No, it's in the Quran. Same thing with zakat. Same thing with prayers. Okay, these are قطعية, certain, definitely from God, and real. They come to fiqh. What is the opposite of قطعية? Fiqh is what? Let's see, what is fiqh?
Jurisprudence.
What is jurisprudence? What do we do? What the
Process of making like a law.
Exactly. Who is making this law? Man. People who study, okay? They become expert. They make this law, they get it from the book. But it's not that clear. The faqih does not come and tell you in his book, in his risala. Does he tell you salat is wajib? Doesn't tell you. Because you know it's wajib. He speaks about the details of salat. Details that are not mentioned in the Quran. Sometimes not even mentioned in the hadith. Some of them are mentioned in the hadith, some of them are not. Okay? So he extracts from the book. Otherwise the faqih does not say in his book, oh people, in the month of Ramadan you have to fast. We all know. Why are you wasting your time? We know you don't have to write a book to tell me, I know. Tell me things that are not, I can't find them in the Quran. So he's using his reasoning in extracting a law. Now, is the law that he's extracting, is it qat'i? Certain? Or what? What is the opposite of qat'i? Qat'i is 100%. Qat'a. We have no shred of doubt that God wants you to do this. This is like wine, for instance. Alcohol. Halal or haram? Read the Quran. You don't have to ask the marja. If you read the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ abomination من عمل الشيطان. This is the work of فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ اجتناب. Stew it. Stay away from it. Don't drink. You don't need the faqih to tell you. It's in the Quran. That's it. So there is qat'. We know wine is forbidden. Qat'. Waqi'i. Real. This is real legislation. Whereas fiqh, the process of reasoning, is it qat'i? Exactly. أحسنت. دليل ظني. أحكام ظنية. This is قطعية. This is ظنية. أحكام ظنية. This is أحكام قطعية. Rulings that are certain. Sharia. The one that we get from God through his book. But this one, the jurist himself, the faqih says, I'm doing my best, guys. I am doing my best to get the law. Even he sometimes he cannot say, I swear, but he says, I'm doing my best. This is why sometimes they change the ruling. They change it after 10 years, 5 years. They study more. They are more convinced. Okay? They change it. So what is the difference then between Sharia and fiqh here? Sharia, the qat'iyya and waqa'iyya, is it changeable? They don't change, fixed. God does not change His ruling. Sometimes we have naskh. Naskh, abrogation. God says, pray to Jerusalem. After 17 months, pray to Mecca. He knows He's going to change this. He knew about it. For certain reasons, because of certain circumstances, He said, for some period of time, face this direction. But then He will change it there. But other than that, God would say, for instance, one day, listen, make Ramadan 15 days. We give you discount. Because you are working now, people are busy. Or the salat, make it, 2 prayers. Or the morning, make it 10 rak'ah, the Isha, make it 2 rak'ah. He wouldn't do that. So this is dhanniyah. This is the difference between Sharia and fiqh. Sharia is a reference to ahkam rulings that are number 1, qat'iyya, certain, number 2, real. Fiqh, the science of fiqh, is a reference to the ahkam that are dhanniyya and also, dhanniyya. Therefore, which is bigger than the other? This one is bigger or that one is bigger? Ahsant. Ahsant. Sharia encompasses fiqh, but fiqh cannot encompass Sharia. Sharia can encompass fiqh because Sharia is the rule of God plus the rule of the mujtahid. Okay? Applies to both. Applies to the rule of God and the rule of the mujtahid. Whereas the fiqh here applies to the rule of the mujtahid. It could be the rule of God. It could be. It could be. But it's the work of a person. It's his effort. It's his results, the result of his work. He's extracting the law from the book. So it is dhanniyah. It is based on conjecture. Now, you may ask me, if it is the work of the mujtahid, we call it ahkam dhanniyah, his rulings are not qat'i, then aren't we wasting our ibadat, our time, our effort, So what is the answer? Aren't we wasting, really? Because his rulings are dhanni, based on conjecture, not certainty.
But it's only to make our life easier and organized. That we need them, so to make decisions, everyday decisions too.
Okay. And is this authorized, what he does?
If he's using a legal procedure.
Because it is authorized, then we say, khalas. God says, follow this. Because God is not going to appear to you and tell you, this is halal or this is haram. Neither He's going to resend the Prophet again, nor the Imams. That's it. They are gone. God says in their absence, when the Prophet and the Imams are there, you go to them. You have access to them, go to them. Or go to their representatives who meet them. In their absence, after year 260 Hijri, then we're going to establish a methodology, a mechanism. And that mechanism, if you follow it rightly, you're going to get the answer. But still this answer could be what? It could be there is 1 in a million that it's wrong. 1 in 1,000, we don't know. It could be wrong. But God says it is forgiven. It's forgiven. Because you did what you were supposed to do, okay? You spent your time, you were an expert, you spent 40 years, and then we authorize you to work. It's like an attorney who passes the bar exam, and he is authorized, he has a license by the state to be an attorney. Does that mean everything attorneys do is 100% correct? No, it's not, even if they are. Sorry, Arash. Okay, or the doctors who pass, what exam they pass, the doctors?
USMLE or
Whatever, hundreds of exams. And they have to study constantly, every 5 years they have to. But does that mean their diagnosis is always correct? Sometimes it's wrong. But nobody is going to take them to jail unless there is negligence. Unless there is negligence. If there is no negligence, he did what he was supposed to do. Same thing with faqih. Faqih, if he is negligent, if he says, I am faqih, he's not faqih, then this is a problem for him and for those who follow him. But if he's really faqih, spent 40 years and people are witnessing, yes, this guy, he has the ability to extract the law. He spent 40 years on himself studying. Then if he makes a mistake, God is not going to charge us, neither charge him, because he followed the path. But he's not ma'soom. He's not ma'soom, he's not infallible. This is the difference between him and the imam. This is the difference between him and the prophet. The prophet, God says, even if you are about to slip, I am going to support you. Because you are a role model, you are an example. Same thing with the imam. They would not give you the wrong verdict because God is there above them. God is going to correct them. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ. See, God says to the prophet, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Rama, though it is called shooting, because they used to rami was the arrow, you know, the arrow and the, but it's for everything. Rama here, it means any endeavor, any work that you do, God is behind you. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. So you're going to hit the target. Even if it goes this way or that way, we will get it to its targets. But with the faqih, God does not say this. God says, work, study, do good, and if you have a mistake, then it is forgiven. So this is the difference between them. So this is greater than that. So if we put them in a circle, this is the circle of Sharia here, Sharia, and this is the circle of fiqh. Sharia is bigger, encompasses fiqh. Why? Because Sharia applies to the real, qat'i, and the dhanni. Whereas fiqh applies to the dhanni. A dhanni which could get you the right answer, but we still call it dhanni. Why? Because it is based on the understanding of a human. This is the understanding of God, and God is perfect. This is the understanding of a human. So there is a difference between them. Any questions here? Please ask. I want you to ask any question. Don't be like the Sahaba, they wait for the Arabi to come. No Arabi is here, so anything. Yeah. So one of the characteristics of the qat'i is that the rulings are what? Huh? Fixed. This one is not fixed. This one could change. The faqih changes his rulings, his fatwa. They do change. They do change. They do, you know, the risala, some of them who are very smart, they review it from time to time, and you see if you compare the risala 20 years ago to today, some sections are removed. Some fatwas are removed. So it's not fixed. Because this is, the process of ijtihad is ongoing. Why? Because our knowledge is not limited. The knowledge evolves. The knowledge evolves, it grows. How many times we the people, when it comes to our daily affairs, when it comes to our jobs, when it comes to our relation, we review them and we change them. We change. 1 year you thought that this is good opinion, the following year you change your opinion. You did something else. Same thing with the faqih. Fiqh is an ongoing, ijtihad is an ongoing process. The other thing, so this is fixed, this is not fixed. What is the second characteristic here? The qat'i has consensus of fuqaha. This is non-consensus. Why this one has consensus, my friends? You tell me. You have to tell me.
It's very clear, yes.
Hmm?
Absolute. It's absolute, it's the word of God.
Have you heard one faqih, one single, who tells you maybe the prayers is not, you know? I know some person said this. He said if you recite the lamentation of Imam Hussein, then you don't have to pray. Khalas. Imam Hussein is going to take you to paradise. There is someone who said this. But he's cuckoo. Nobody, believes him. So fuqaha, they have consensus on these rulings. Why? Because it's very clear. It's right in front of his eyes. This is halal, this is haram. Whereas this one, the opinion that comes from reasoning ijtihad, they have no consensus. In fact, they differ with each other. They differ with each other. This is why we have this faqih who says women should cover their face. The following faqih said no, she shouldn't cover their face. One faqih says the people of book, Jews and Christians, are tahir, pure. If you touch them while your hand is wet. The second faqih says no. One faqih says all types of music are okay. Another faqih says all types of music are not okay. A third faqih says half are okay, half are not. So they don't have because this is reasoning. This is reasoning. Okay? So there is no consensus when it comes to ahkam that is dhanniya, based on conjecture. There is no consensus. Whereas this one, definitely they are fixed and there is consensus. 8:02. I think we should stop here. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين